What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock, which you should be looking after for the future. I'm also going to do some in-depth technical analysis and give you guys my price prediction for tomorrow based off the charts are showing and based off the data is suggesting. I'm also going to talk about why tomorrow is going to be a very interesting day, as it's the last full day we have before the big CPI report that comes out, and also what NIO put on their Twitter page, which is still very big news for the long-term future. Now, before I break anything down, before I get into any more details, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Don't take any of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. Not only benefits me, it benefits the entire NIO community as a whole. And the last thing is, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000. And the best part is, any of these 12 free stocks could be a free NIO share, a free Tesla share, or a mix of all of them. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 4 days. Check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So, looking at NIO, this thing was down a little bit over 3% for the day, and NIO did enter the zone that I was talking about yesterday. I was talking about that 13 to 12.5 zone. That is where NIO ended up getting a slight bounce, but overall, guys, NIO is still not looking in the best of states right now, as the whole market is continuing to drop more and more and more. So one thing that's important to note is that the S&P 500 close was lower once again. The lowest, we actually saw it hit the lowest values that we've seen for the year. And on top of that, we have a big inflationary report that's coming out just 2 days from now. So with the big CPI report coming out, tomorrow is going to be the last full day we have in the markets before the report comes out. Because remember, the market is going to be pricing in and getting ready for CPI. It's going to be coming out on October 13th, which is Thursday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. So on Thursday, their data is going to come out and then the market is going to open. So tomorrow, which is Wednesday, is going to be the last full day we have. Now that can be very, very, how should I say, causing lots of investors to be very cautious, because we don't truly know exactly how this is going to go down. We know that the energy sector makes a big part of it, and it has a tendency of actually playing a big role in how the overall number comes out. But the last time this came out, we saw gas prices falling, we saw energy prices coming down a bit, but it did not matter because the whole market ended up crashing after that, because it was still pretty high when it comes to everything else. Core CPI was still very, very high, and as a result, we don't truly know just yet, and we have to wait for the data. Now, in China, we are still seeing more and more of these lockdowns being imposed. Once again, it's still continuing. We're almost like going in circles at this point, and this is slowing down demand in China big time. This could even lead to some very, very dire situations from the global scale. And when this is actually going down, the slowdown in demand may actually affect companies like NIO and Tesla, but Q4 tends to be stronger, and so far it hasn't really had a major effect on deliveries, at least like since Q3 started. So I'm really hoping this doesn't really hurt them in any way, shape, or form. And right now, it's not really affecting NIO's production just yet, or I really hope it never does. So, right now, guys, I'm not necessarily too scared or anything like that, but I am still very cautious when it comes to moves like this and big announcements. Now, when it comes to the data, NIO's overall volume was a little bit higher, but we did drop on a higher volume, which is not the best of signs. Now, coming down to the short volume percentage, it's on this uptrend, which means the sellers, the shorts, are gaining the edge on this stock. They're continuing to short it more. We are seeing more selling pressure continuing to drive the price down. Looking at the overall data, the current market cap is just under 21 billion, and coming all the way down here, we can see this very key looking comparison between SPY and NIO, and you guys can see how similar they happen to be. The price pairs ratio is actually coming down even harder, which is just another bearish signal for NIO, showing some signs of weakness relative to the overall market. But considering that NIO does have a positive beta above like 2.0, that's not really surprising, as NIO is going to drop harder than the overall market during these big drops in this bear market. Overall, we are still seeing mainly just buy ratings from big banks out there, big analysts out there, which is still a good sign because NIO is still very good for the long term. And looking at other metrics and pieces of data, we can see that Wednesdays actually tend to be green days historically. Now, even though that is the case for NIO for this week, we've entered a new phase that just started just a couple of weeks ago, where the market is starting to drop pretty hard, and we're actually really struggling to continue to push up. So I don't really know if this is going to matter. I am anticipating a sideways day for tomorrow, though, as we do have CPI coming out, and the markets may actually be very cautious. There's also a possibility We could see a slight sell-off when it comes to the sideways action for most of the day because the market is very uncertain, and we know the market does not like uncertainty. Coming down right here, you guys could see this big spike in the short volume. I'm sorry, the short interest right here, and right here, we could see these big spikes are continuing to come up as we're seeing more and more of the short sellers come in and start manipulating the prices of assets like NIO. So what does this mean for NIO? Where is NIO going from here? Well, if you look at the daily chart, you will see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 big red days in a row. So very, very unusual activity in a way for a typical market. But when it's a bear market, this is not as crazy as some people may think. Now, NIO's fundamentals are continuing to get stronger, but that does not matter as much when you have a market like this. And it's pretty crazy to see this actually going down. What is very important to note is the fact that the SPY is continuing to make these lower lows. We actually touched 355. We were in this zone I was talking about, which is close to that 356 to about 358. We came very close to that. We ended up closing in this zone, which is not the best of signs. And SPY was showing lots of weakness. What is very interesting though is when you're looking at the market today, we came down pretty hard into open. We crashed all the way down to the 355s, big bounce, push up to about 363. We came above or very, very close to that 200 EMA. We were trying to hold it, and we got a huge crash at the end of the day. The SPY went from about 361 all the way down to 355. Big, big, big drop, super crazy selling volume. It's insane how the market could do this. And as a result, NIO did end up tracking this pretty closely. You could see NIO came down pretty hard to that 12.5 range. Nice bounce, followed by a big rejection. Another big drop as the market was coming down. It did push up a bit near the end of the day, but overall we're still down over 3%, well below the 200 EMA. What does this mean for NIO? This means that so far there's no true confirmation of a bounce, and there could be more potential downside, and everyone needs to be prepared for that. Where can NIO go to? Well, the key zones were mentioned previously. If NIO does not hold at 12.5, I do believe we're going to retest this tomorrow. If we don't hold this, we have the potential to come to $12 flat. If you don't hold that, then 11.66 or 11.67 is where we're probably going to head to. And remember, this is where NIO bounced the last time it came to this level. Once we touched 11.66, we got a very big bounce during the low of the year. So we want to see if this continues coming to this year. So right here, let me actually show you this closely. Coming down, you guys can see back in May when NIO was taking that like massive hit all the way down here, NIO came down and down and down super fast. We have this long wick at 11.67, got a big bounce off that. So I want to see how NIO responds to this if we do end up coming this low. Now, how we end up moving later on for like Thursday, Friday, going into next week, it also depends heavily on CPI. This is going to be a very important report, so that's where we have to be very cautious. So for NIO, if this thing gets a push to the upside, we have resistance at 13, also resistance at 13.3, I think like right here, and then 13.99, which is about 14. Those are the key resistance levels. So there's another zone like right here, 13.3, like around that zone. Lots of volume, lots of chop around there. So these are the key zones to watch for: 13, 13.33, and then 14 if we don't get a big break. Also watch that 200 EMA on the 5-minute, the 3-minute, and different time frames. Now, if NIO comes down, all right, $14 is where we were a couple of days ago. We've been coming down since. We're downtrending. And it's looking like this thing is set to actually retest $12.50. A break below that, here comes $12. And if you don't hold $12, 11.66 is what I'm going to be watching. So what am I predicting for tomorrow? I'm predicting a very similar move. It looks like the market is selling off going into the CPI report. So it does not necessarily look like we're going to see a big bounce just yet. It's looking like for tomorrow, NIO might push up a bit, retest at 3.06, kind of come up like this to this very big chop zone right here. Then we're probably going to see another big sell-off and a retest of 12.5, just like that. Now the question is NIO going to hold this range? We might start to retest it over and over again, and it's possible for NIO to come all the way down to $12, unfortunately. Now, I'm hoping we hold $12 as we approach CPI, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a crazy chop fest followed by a bit of a drop. So NIO could actually get a low close at $12 flat, maybe come a little lower. So please be very cautious and be very, very careful when it comes to this play and how you're playing it. And the market makers have a tendency of just trying to trick people on a daily basis. You could see what they were doing with SPY. I mean, it was pretty crazy what they did. If you were watching the chart today, they pushed us down very hard. They tricked people into thinking we were about to crash. Then we have this huge rally. Okay, people holding puts down here got destroyed. It went up and up and up, and people were thinking that, oh, we're just going to drop from this rejection point at 361.5. We come down a bit, and another fake out. We end up pushing all the way up to 363. Then the people up here were probably thinking, oh, we're about to go to 365. We're about to go to 364. Big rejection out of nowhere. We start chopping down a bit. Maybe some people are still holding their calls, thinking we're about to get a nice bounce. Then all of a sudden, they rug pulled us super hard, and we saw this, crazy manipulation. So I'm anticipating more manipulation. It's probably going to happen to the market tomorrow, but I am anticipating some more downside, guys. It does not look like we're seeing a clear bounce, so watch your charts very carefully. Now, despite all this potential downside, please note that NIO is still a very strong company fundamentally. If you look at their Twitter page, they mentioned the fact that the EV Association discusses NIO's NIO power swap stations and how worldwide battery swapping is on the way. So I believe personally that battery swapping is going to be the future. It's going to be a very incredible move for NIO. And I believe as time goes on, you know, we may be in a tough state right now in China for the markets, but for the long-term future, with the expansion coming out to Europe and many other countries, this thing NIO perform the way they are, strong deliveries and better production mechanisms, I'm still very bullish long-term. This is a very good buying opportunity. So that's how I'm essentially seeing this. Thank you all for listening. Please, I want the best for everyone. Remain calm, cool, and collected. Do what you have to do, and I'll see you guys in the next video. NIO to the moon, because the long-term future is still very bright. And peace out.